Take 106. Cheers. Hi there, Coach Sage of VO2 Max Productions here with another race report, vlog, race recap. I'm drinking an Avery. It's a German style sour ale with lime and sea salt added, and I just started drinking it, I swear. But it's what I celebrated with after my latest race. Sandy and I just got back from out in Moab, Utah, the Moab Trail Marathon, which was the USATF, US Track and Field National Championship for trail marathon distance. So it brought out some really good competition. Being the top American in the race, you earn a spot on the World Mountain Running Team Long Distance Challenge for next year in Italy, which is always a huge honor to be able to represent your country and wear the red, white, and blue and compete against international competition. So that was some of the goals of the race. I also wanted to use the race as, I don't want to say a tune-up because I take every race seriously as an A race, but as a kind of a rust buster for the North Face 50 Mile Endurance Challenge in San Francisco, which will be in 4 weeks. So, you know, getting in a good hard 26.2 miles on the trails with a decent amount of vertical, 4,000 feet of climbing, hopefully, you know, without tapering too much, will help me in 4 weeks at the North Face 50, or tire me out. It's a little bit of a risk. But, you know, if I posted on social media and Twitter and Instagram at Sage Canada, but if you don't know the results, I ended up getting second place overall in the race, but I was the top American in the race, so I technically won the USATF national title, and they had a finish banner for that. So there's a picture of me breaking the tape, but I do want to give credit to the guy that won the race overall. Azera, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I believe he's from Eritrea, but I think he's been training in Colorado Springs for quite a while, and he ended up beating me by 24 seconds over this marathon race. And I'll kind of give a blow by blow with how the race went down. It was pretty loaded men's field as well as a really loaded and condensed women's field. Sandy was out there racing. I ended up getting 4th place overall, and again, you know, we were both not tapered quite as much as we might have been going into this race. She didn't taper as much, but he'd been training really hard, improved a lot, and you know, just went into this race doing a lot of shorter distance mountain ultra trail races this year. Coming from an ultra background, Sandy's started off running 100-mile races in her ultra career, but so she's been working on her speed, and it's been really paying off. So congratulations to Sandy, getting 4th overall in a very close finish. I think she was only like less than a minute behind Kelly Wolf, who was 3rd. Megan Kimmel was right in there, a couple minutes ahead of that. I think they're running about 346, 345, 342, or 343. And Megan Kimmel is just amazing. She's had an amazing season already. Skyrunning international competitor. I believe she won the North Face 50 Mile Endurance Challenge last year. Just world-class mountain trail running. And then Addie Bracey, actually from Boulder, ended up winning the women's race at the Moab Trail Marathon. I think she ran 340. I got the results here actually. Yeah, 340.28. And she's a great transition upstart. You know, 235 road marathoner, trains with Hudson Elite out here in Boulder. Transitioned into mountain ultra trail running, winning the US Mountain Running Championships, 12K or 10K I believe it was, and representing the US at Worlds this summer, but then also getting into more trail races. So very competitive women's field. There were, you know, our friend who won the Leadville 100-mile race out there was also out there. And actually, I don't want to leave out the 5th place woman here. Her name was, sorry, but she's actually a masters runner. Christine Lundy was behind Sandy on 356, And then our friend Claire Gallagher from Boulder, who won the Leadville 100, was right behind that, as well as Sarah Pizzo and all these other women. So really stacked women's field. The men's field, I'll go in how the race played out, but yeah, so Azira won the race. I couldn't catch him at the end. He was really tough. And after me, there's a little... it was Joe Gray, who's the world mountain running champion. And Joe and I've raced in a lot of different races over the years, gone back and forth, running world mountain running champs in 2012 together, U.S. championships in mountain running in 2012, also at Mount Washington. Other years at Mount Washington, racing in cross country. He's a super fast guy. Mainly races marathon distances and below, but second to Kilian Jornet at Sarrazin. A lot of really good mountain running, vertical K performances from Joe. Very strong runner, 2:18 marathoner, I believe. And behind that, for 4th place overall, but 3rd place in the U.S. championships, was a newbie, Anthony Costales. Sorry if I pronounced his name wrong. Great guy I was talking to. He actually went to Chico State, like Tim Tollefson, and ran there. 2:17 marathon, road marathoner. Super nice guy. Ran track, faster track times than I ran. I believe he's like 29:20, 10K runner, 29:30, 10K runner in college. And then right behind that was Travis Morrison, another guy that I was talking to who went to North Central College. Found out he was a D3 national champion at 5K. Ran, I think, 14:23 maybe, but other faster times, and then also ran 2:23 at the Chicago Marathon this year. So really, I mean, after that, Mike Foote, Dakota Jones, some long-term trail guys, JP Donovan, just all sorts of guys in that field. Super stacked race overall, and a very difficult race. If you look at the Strava elevation profile, you see it was 4,000 feet of climbing, about over maybe a little less than 26 miles. I don't know, the GPS doesn't always pick up in the rocks and the canyons very well. But 4,000 feet of climbing. What it doesn't show, of course, is how technical some of the trails are. And if you see, if you go out there and you look at the trails, it's a lot of slick rock. There are some spots where it's like kind of sandy, 4-wheel drive types of roads that are transition that you can run on pretty fast, but then some really technical rock drop-offs with slick rock. There's a place where there's a couple ladders where you actually have to stop and climb up a ladder. There's places where they have ropes and volunteers out there with the ropes, so you could pull yourself up this rock face, because if you fall and tumble off the side, you might really hurt yourself and it would be bad. And it's super steep. You can't do it basically without a rope, at least not very fast, as well as going down with a rope in your hand. I'll throw up some pictures actually on there. All these pictures are from the American Trail Running Association, ATRA, and headed by Nancy Hobbs and Richard Bolt, who represent USATF track and field in mountain running, mountain ultra trail running, mutt running, and they were out there taking these pictures, so give photo credit to them. Check out the website. I'll link to it in the description below. But again, it was a fun race. It was a blast. Sandy had a blast running the technical trails, but it still was a fast race, and I knew it would probably take a sub 3 to win, because historically the winning times have been low 3-hour range. And I actually ran in this race 3 years ago. I was training for the North Face 50 again, which I ended up not racing because I got sick and I got the flu. But I ran the Moab Trail Marathon after a disastrous race at the Yurok 100K, and my hips kind of got jacked up from the rocks. I think I was a little overtrained, and what happened was I was leading the race at about mile 14. I ran off course for 2 miles, and then realized my mistake, ran back on, came back in 5th or 6th place, and then had to run an extra 1.5 miles or so. So I ended up running like 3:20 that year. So I threw the time out the window. I wanted to improve my performance. I didn't want my hips to be all jacked up, and I wanted to get in a hard effort for North Face this year. So 4 weeks of running over 100 miles a week, which is a lot in training for me heading into this Moab Trail Marathon race, with North Face as the long-term goal. And a little taper before the race. The last 5 days, probably tapering down mileage. Took a really easy long run. I've been relaxing on most of my long runs, but since the Moab Trail Marathon's a race for 26.2 miles, I treat that as a hard effort, and it paid off. I think even if you factor in my time of getting lost 3 years ago, I significantly PR'd on the course. It was a big improvement on the time, and it would have been, it's the second fastest time. So Azera set the course record, 2:58:01, and then I came in at 2:58:25. Joe Gray's at 3 hours and 56 seconds. So yeah, only 2 guys have ever cracked 3 hours on this course, and cracking 3 hours was kind of a goal in the back of my head. But I had my Garmin 620 on, and I had set it on a mode where I didn't have cumulative time, so I was really frustrated with that. I was trying to fumble with it during the race, but yeah, I just threw time out the window, looked at some of the splits. You can see on Strava, even like the first mile, the grade adjusted pace was a 4:59, and we're still at altitude. It's 4,000 feet, 5,000 feet of altitude, so we took it out hard. Zera and his teammate, who ended up, I think, winning the half, I actually didn't look up those results, they took it out with Anthony and Travis, and they had a little pack, and then Joe Gray and Dakota and I were kind of sitting back. And yeah, we let them go a little bit on the first climb, just knowing how hard a 3-hour effort's going to be. And I was trying to dial into my breathing and say, like, you don't want to get too close to your lactate threshold early on in a marathon, or you're going to bonk pretty hard probably. So, I was holding back a little, but still running at a strong pace. And the first technical descent, we really flew down. Really feel like I've improved my technical skills a bit, and wearing the Hoka Speed Goats with the Vibram outsole traction, especially on the wet rock, was really good, giving me a lot of confidence in my footing. So we ended up closing that gap down to one big lead pack around the halfway point where there's a little out and back on this creek bed, and I actually took the lead there briefly before a huge 2-mile climb at around mile 14 where Azera, Joe, and I kind of were all running together. Then after that, we were coming down the slick rock, and we hit that climb hard. Like, I was going to try to make a move, but I just couldn't gap those guys. They were too strong, and I was breathing pretty hard for being only 15 miles into a marathon race. But that's what it takes, is some really hard climbing sometimes. And I was trying to keep a steady fuel and hydration, and I had a Nathan handheld 18-ouncer, and I actually ended up filling some of it with Coke near the end, just to get in some extra sugar. But and no stomach problems, no bonking. But after that climb, there was a little descent on the slick rock, and I actually was being clumsy. I turned my ankle out pretty bad, and I was like screaming. I was hopping around on it. I actually had to stop, and I sat down on a rock, and I thought my race was over, because it really freaking hurt. And I was out in the middle of nowhere in the desert, and I saw Joe and Azera just pull away, and they have a minute, maybe a minute and a half on me. They disappear behind the slick rock, and Anthony comes up behind me, and I'm limping up behind him, and I'm like, yeah, I twisted my ankle, it really hurts, and I start hobbling after him, and then I start moving, and it loosens up. And this happens to me in training a lot if I kind of turn my ankle. I kind of have rubber ankles, so I was able to get moving again, and the pain kind of, it loosened up, and I was able to run on it. So it wasn't that bad of a sprain, but yeah, and then I was able to reel those guys back in over the next 5 or 6 miles. Ran out of real estate trying to catch Azera, but I did pass Joe in the last 2 miles, right after the rope climbing section, and right before a rope descent section where there was like a ladder. And it was a pretty neat course. Big thanks to all the volunteers and the race director and all the sponsors that made it possible out there. It was really rewarding to get in a good race where I feel good again, a good confidence booster. Great performance by Sandy, and all the participants in the race. Sandy's really pumped. She got 4th place in the U.S. Championship. It was my technically it's my 3rd U.S. ATF championship. It's been a while. I did the mountain running champs in 2012. I won that at Mount Washington. It was the U.S. mountain running champs, and then Bandera 100K, and so this was my 3rd one. So different distances, any surface, any distance, and definitely a strong consideration at representing the U.S. long distance mountain running team next summer in Italy, because I was looking at the calendar, and it's like the first week of August, and it's a 39K with 7,800 feet of climbing, and I'm thinking I really want to go back to UTMB as well, if I could qualify for next summer. And I realized that UTMB is actually in very, very late August, or September 1st, so it's actually like 4 weeks after this other race. And so I'm thinking I could probably do both, and it would be good mountain running, European mountain running style experience, and always top level competition over there. So that excites me for next year, honestly. And I got good momentum rolling into the North Face 50 Mile Endurance Challenge, which I know will be a total battle this year. It always is, hoping for dry weather for the first time. I've always run there. It's always like a mud bath, and actually running the traditional course as well. But always seeking improvement, always trying to learn from our mistakes in the past. And training, Sandy's helped me a lot in optimizing my training, doing some more core work, doing hip exercises, just trying to eat really healthy, get enough sleep, basic things like that, as well as structuring a training schedule that gets you calloused and gets you strong, but doesn't totally exhaust you and make you overtrained or make you injured. And it's a delicate balance. Everyone's a little different. For me, it means running between 100 to 120 miles a week on the trails, and it obviously depends what race you're training for, but getting in a decent amount of vertical. I've done hill repeats, I've done some long runs and some rolling hilly trails. I've done some uphill tempo types of efforts also, and just making sure you don't overdo things. I've run up to 150 miles a week before in college. I've been running over 100 miles a week and a lot of weeks in training over the last 10 years, and I've kind of found my sweet spot closer to the 120 mark, and that was doing mainly road miles and mainly flat miles. So the work output of getting in a lot of vertical, really high mileage is a big time commitment, a big energy commitment, but it also seems to tire out my legs a lot. And so it's a matter of balancing that with some structured intensity, and just staying on top of all the little things. So that's what I've learned, at least this year. It's a continual process. Again, it feels good to be back on the podium. It feels good to be finishing races strong again. I've kind of got it was tough early on in the summer doing those hundreds and having them be kind of disastrous. So hopefully now stepping back into the intermediate distance ultras, the 50-mile distance, treat us well out in the Bay Area and San Francisco. But really looking forward to that. Thanks so much for following along. I got more podcasts coming on the way, as well as more adventure videos. Feel free to comment below future training talk topics as well, and vote. Thank you so much, guys, for all your support. I couldn't do any of this without you. Thanks so much to the Patreon supporters. I got some new camera gear. I'm gonna get some more camera gear even, try to up the quality of a lot of these videos. Still working on the Western States film project. I promise you I will get that out. The delay's been extreme, but yeah, that's still on the back burner. Thank you so much, guys. I couldn't do this without you. Hope your running's going well, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.